Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
This is breaking news from the KCAL newsroom. We're following a pursuit of a stolen vehicle. The San Bernardino Sheriff's Department chasing this here on the westbound side of the 10. We have Desmond Shaw upstairs in SkyCal. Desmond, CHP just took this over.
Yeah, it looks like it, Mike. I did just notice them getting engaged in this one. It was the San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies, and this guy is flying an allegedly stolen vehicle. We believe it's a Nissan Murano, and we heard that the authorities were saying that they believe that this person is armed with what they described as a ghost gun. So basically an untraceable gun, one that maybe had the serial number filed off or something like that. But you can see we've been up to pretty much triple-digit speeds on this. When we first heard about this in Ontario near the 10 and the 15, we were working down in Orange County, and we intercepted this just around the Kellogg Hill. So we're kind of at the tail end of rush hour. You can still see some slow traffic on the eastbound side, but we're westbound 10 now, barreling towards downtown Los Angeles, first to 605 freeway, and then we'll be on our way towards downtown. High-speed pursuit with a possibly armed and dangerous suspect, Mike.
Yeah, and Desmond, we're joined now by Ross Palumbo, Susie Saw here at the anchor desk. Ross and Susie, we were just kind of talking about how San Bernardino Sheriff did not initially give this up. They chased it all the way through their county into LA County, and it wasn't until LA County that the CHP picked it up. CHP was notified of it when it was in San Bernardino, but San Bernardino not willing to give it up. There's actually an Ontario police helicopter that is overhead now as we come into the West Covina area.
You know, Mike and Des, it's such an unusual situation that they know that the suspect driving in what we believe is a stolen vehicle is armed, yet they are still chasing this person on the 10 here at triple-digit speeds. Now we're around 90 miles an hour, and still, Susie, as you can see, there are plenty of cars on the 10 at this hour.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder then, Ross, you know, it begs the other question then, what are they running from? What else are they running from? If this is just a stolen car pursuit, then, you know, go ahead and pull it over, because after that, it won't be much, you know, legally. But if you're running and evading, then it's going to stack those charges up for sure.
And Des, at any time, have we been able to get even a closer look? Do they believe anyone else is in the car? Is it possible that this car was carjacked?
Yeah, it's that is unknown at this point, but that is certainly worth asking, because if this is a stolen vehicle, then you would be hard-pressed to know who this suspect is unless, you know, they witnessed someone carjacking, or if that was indeed the case. So certainly worth wondering. We are yet to confirm that, and we haven't heard any talk about how many people are in the vehicle. I don't believe that the authorities have been able to get close enough to get, you know, eyes inside of the vehicle. And, you know, this car going almost as fast as some of the law enforcement helicopters as well. So we are really flying here. This is actually on the slower end that we've been down to, about 85 miles an hour. We stopped to 110 at one point over the Kellogg Hill. Even though we're getting through the tail end of rush hour traffic, you know, it's Los Angeles. You could see it back up at any point at any time. Traffic could suddenly slow down, and that's going to be awfully dangerous here with someone, you know, flying along at close to triple-digit speeds.
And Des, what is he or she, what are they heading into right now? Can you pull it just a little bit more? I mean, how it looks to me like they're probably going to be hitting more of a backup here, judging by where they are around the 32A there.
Yeah, I agree. We're almost at the 605. Things tend to kind of bottleneck a little bit in this area, even on the non-volume side there on the westbound. Obviously, eastbound is the really tough side in the afternoon and the evening. But you could definitely see a bit of a backup here at any time on the westbound side. Just slight slowdowns there. But the other, you know, thing kind of going on is this person is going so fast that it kind of makes you know, all the traffic around them look kind of slow. Everyone going 65. This guy going you know, 85 to 110 miles an hour. So we'll see. They've been in the left lanes most of the time. We'll see if they continue to stay on the 10 or if they take the 605 north towards either Irwindale or southbound towards Whittier, Norwalk, and Orange County. And just as I say that right on cue, looks like they may be getting off the freeway here just before the 605. So let's see how this goes as we get on surface streets.
Yeah, this is the first time we're seeing this pursuit on surface streets. Looks like we're going to make the curve here, go right underneath that overpass there, and we'll see if we come out right there. Yep, looks like we are coming out from the other side. This car about to make that right turn. If you're just joining us here on KCAL, an early edition of KCAL News at 8, this is breaking news, the pursuit of a stolen car, the CHP chasing this one. Let's go to Mike Rogers at the desk for an update for us now. Mike.
Yeah, Susie, we're waiting to get some additional information from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office. They're the ones ones that started it. But I want to point out that the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department believes that there was a ghost gun, that the suspect possibly has a ghost gun. The specificity of that and the fact that they know that this person may have a ghost gun leads me to believe that this crime was probably witnessed, or they know this person. It's very specific to know during a chase of a just stolen vehicle that there is this type of weapon in there. Generally, what we see with stolen car chases is that they'll run the plate comes back stolen, they'll try to pull the car over, and it takes off. But the fact that they have some pretty specific information about what this person may have leads me to believe that this was either a witnessed crime or a known suspect or something to them that was able to give them a little bit more information.
Mike, it is so incredibly unusual to know it is a ghost gun before the gun is even in custody. You're exactly right. Perhaps that gun was in the car and the car owner just admitted it to authorities, or there must be much more to this. That suspect must be known, perhaps maybe a family member told them. But here we go. Look, it's slowing down just a little bit, Des. What's happening right here?
Back on the freeway here. So we were eastbound on Valley Boulevard, which is kind of like a mini freeway on this section here of the El Monte area. Now we're heading northbound on the 605, where there is definitely still some evening rush hour traffic. So we'll see how the suspect decides to handle this. If they start getting on the right-hand shoulder to get around traffic, they're definitely thinking about it here. Yep, kind of onto the shoulder here. So stacking up as we're coming back to the interchange we just went through there with the 10 freeway. Zigging and zagging a little bit. This is definitely the slowest that we've been. At least they're not going 100 miles an hour trying to get around all these vehicles. But now we are northbound 605. This traffic will clear up quite a bit once we get through the interchange, as then the northbound 605 heads up towards the 210, the Foothill Freeway in the Duarte, Bradbury area. So we're definitely well involved in the San Gabriel Valley now.
This is a live pursuit here on KCAL News. We were talking about the fact that this is a stolen car pursuit, but when you hear the fact that this person may be armed with possibly a ghost gun, as Mike Rogers at the desk was alluding to, I mean, that definitely, Ross, puts up that security level for these officers. I mean, we're not talking just about someone who stole a car. We're talking about someone who could have hurt somebody possibly with that weapon. Did they? What transpired before all this? Like you were saying, so much, I mean, a huge story before this all happened.
And the stakes are even higher knowing that the suspect is currently armed, even regardless of what the weapon might be. And here we go, the 605 northbound flight here, reaching into the 80 miles an hour area. He's starting to move quickly again. The only good thing I can say about this, Mike and Desmond, is at least the traffic is loosening up, fewer people in danger. It looks like is he on an off-ramp there again, Des?
Yeah, getting off the freeway here, and we'll see if this is going to be, I think, Lower Azusa Road, where we're going to be exiting kind of a more industrial, actually, no, Ramona Boulevard. So this is still kind of a neighborhood area where a lot of folks live. A lot of people here still trying to get home from the afternoon, and making a turn now as we head, looks like westbound over the 605 freeway and the San Gabriel River. Are they just going to get back on the freeway? So far, the suspect seems really keen on sticking with the freeway. So let's see if that's what they do indeed. Look at that, right back on southbound. So, you know, we heard about this earlier, as I recall, when we heard about it in Ontario. I think I heard they were west 10, then they were east 10, then they were back west 10. You saw we got off the 10 at Durfee there at the 605. Then warmed our way to the north 605. Now we're southbound 605. Seems to want to stick to the freeways. Maybe at least they've kind of slowed down here for the moment. Since they got off the freeway there in South El Monte, the tone seems to have shifted a little bit. Not seeing those 110 mile an hour speeds. In fact, down to just 55 here at the moment. Little psych out there at the last second, like they were going to try to get off the freeway. Very common tactic with these suspects to try to kind of pull a last-second maneuver. But CHP, they're right back there. That's not going to fool them. So now we're going south of, actually over the 10 freeway, and now we are getting towards El Monte, City of Industry, and the city of Whittier, southbound 605.
Yeah, and as we continue on the freeway, as you're watching this live here on KCAL News, this is breaking news of a pursuit of a stolen car. We believe the person inside this car, we don't know how many people, but we believe at least one person in this car is armed, possibly with a ghost gun. I want to bring in Mike Rogers at the desk now to talk about the various ways that this car can be stopped by CHP officials. Mike, you know, we always talk about the fact that when we're going this fast on the freeway, I mean, forget it, really. Pit maneuver, spike strip.
Exactly.
Yeah. Pit maneuvers is out of the question here. A spike strip, maybe, you know, Des and I have talked about this a lot. There's not a ton of opportunities to do a spike strip on a freeway because of all of the other vehicles. The freeway's very wide. You know, it's really hard to cast that net on a freeway. And the other issue is that he keeps getting on and off the freeways, which doesn't leave them a lot of room to get ahead of him to deal with this. So unfortunately, we may be in a situation where they're just going to wait for this guy to give it up, run out of gas, something like that. But I also want to point out that his odds of getting away from law enforcement are very quickly dwindling because we now have Air 22 from the Sheriff's Department overhead, San Bernardino's 40 King is overhead, and CHP's helicopter is on the way.
And
so
Mike,
he's going to have 3 sets of eyes on him just from the air soon.
Exactly. And Mike, and you mentioning that this suspect is armed, there is virtually no chance that authorities are going to call off the search and just let this run its course when there's an armed suspect speeding triple digits down the highway.
And that also, it's a good point, Ross, that also really limits their opportunity to do a pit maneuver.
Sure.
The last thing they want is to spin somebody around, have them facing the officers when they have a really good reason to believe that they're armed. That's not something they ever want to put themselves in a situation. So again, that really is going to limit their options here, especially as we stay on the freeway.
Yeah, let's go upstairs now to Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal for a look now. Desmond, where are we now?
So we just crossed the 60 freeway, we're still blasting along the southbound 605, got up to 95 again at one point. So just wondering if this suspect is, you know, trying to formulate a plan or something and then buy themselves a little bit of time. Sometimes we see that maybe they're on the phone with someone trying to see if someone can help them out, or if they're thinking about some area where they think that they can, you know, ditch the vehicle and have an advantage to get away from the authorities. But yeah, 3 sets of eyes from the air, not even counting our eyes from the air, all of the ground assets as well. So yeah, like Mike said, a pit maneuver almost certainly not in the offing. If they were going to do spike strips on a freeway, it would not be when we're talking about speeds like this. Whenever we've seen those attempts, a lot of time, you know, it'll be in pretty heavy traffic if they're driving much more docile, I guess you could say, you know, maybe going at the speed limit or less and kind of sticking to one side of the road. But when you have someone going 90 miles an hour and getting on and off the freeway, changing directions, very, very unlikely that we're going to see that. So authorities' best chance here is that this person, if this was carjacked or however, that it does not have much gas in the tank and that they're going to run out sooner rather than later. That's most likely what CHP is hoping for right now.
And Desmond, I think all the time that we've been following this, we haven't seen, thankfully, any close calls with any other drivers. There's been no sideswiping, no sudden stops. This person has managed to maneuver on the side streets, thankfully, without getting in a jam so far. Is that what you've seen since the beginning now?
I would, yes, I would concur with that. Although we are seeing these really high speeds, they are pretty much sticking it to one lane, not, you know, changing lanes crazy or almost losing control of the vehicle or you know, going between lanes. Not so far. We haven't seen anything dangerous as far as that goes. It's really just the speed that has been the most dangerous factor so far in this pursuit. And wouldn't you know it, as is almost always the case with these pursuits, as we double in to see if we could get a look on the passenger side. Oh, look at that, they're even using their turn signal. But they've got that tint, that what I've kind of dubbed the pursuit tint, because almost every single one of these vehicles that we pursue has that really dark tint, which precludes us from looking inside. And that's another thing that law enforcement definitely hates to deal with in a pursuit, is not being able to see what's going on inside that vehicle.
Yeah, especially at night. I mean, it's virtually impossible to see inside that car. So again, we don't know how many people are inside this car. We don't know if it's just a single driver or perhaps with passengers, but we do know tonight that this person is possibly armed with a ghost gun, and the CHP has been in chase for that very reason. And this is originally a stolen car pursuit. So, you know, you got to think about what has happened before this? What happened before this that the CHP is after this person and not letting them go, Ross?
Yeah, and let's go back over to Mike Rogers. Mike, are you hearing anything new about exactly how this began? We do have that unusual detail that there's a ghost gun involved. What do we know about how this started and where we first picked it up?
Yeah, you know, I know the CHP is trying to work with the sheriff's office out in San Bernardino to to get some of that information. There you see one of the helicopters in the shot right there providing that night sun. But, you know, what's happening right now is we've gone into now, this is the third area of CHP, their third office. So each time we go through this, you get a new set of officers, a new sergeant who wants new information. So it's happening kind of quickly that we're transitioning through these different offices. So each person's trying to get caught up as we go, and that's what's happening right now. We're getting into the Santa Fe Springs area. We are still waiting to get back from San Bernardino Sheriff's exactly what happened, but I can tell you that the Ontario police helicopter that was overhead picked it up in the Ontario area, kind of near the Ontario Mills Mall out there. So, you know, San Bernardino Sheriff's Office obviously has the whole county, but they have an office specifically in Rancho Cucamonga. It could have been from there. It's not clear how long they were chasing it. I will tell you, though, that the San Bernardino Sheriff's helicopters usually get in the air pretty quickly. So the fact that the Ontario PD ship picked it up leads me to believe that it probably started somewhere in that area.
Now, it's hard to tell, but it looks like he's trying to get back on after getting off the 605 right here. Des, is that your understanding? This is an on-ramp back onto the 605 northbound after a brief exit.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's kind of what the suspect's been doing throughout the duration of the pursuit, is just to go along a stretch of freeway, get off, and then reverse course on that stretch of freeway. And that's what we've done now, northbound 605. And this is the volume side, but again, you know, we're well past, now that we're well into the 7 o'clock hour, the traffic starts to break apart. You might see a little bit of on and off slowing between here and the 10. We did see that earlier when we were in the South El Monte area. It just kind of seems like this suspect is trying to buy time, trying to kind of formulate a plan, not making a really, really serious, really desperate attempt to get away from authorities. I mean, yes, we have seen some high speeds, but we haven't seen any of the other really reckless behavior that we often see, driving in the center divider at 90 miles an hour, or on the right-hand shoulder, or wrong way on a surface street. We haven't seen any of those tactics, or, you know, really kind of desperate measures now, but we do, you know, still have the speeds. Still, I've kind of been going only a little bit above the speed limit. We have seen little bursts of 90 to 100 miles an hour. Actually, I'm not even sure that we've seen 100 over the last 10 minutes or so. So,
you know, and I have to say, Des,
they're trying to conserve a little bit of gas.
And it is somewhat unusual. I haven't seen it in a while, but this driver using some turn signals here. And as you say, very importantly, not going down the wrong way, not getting too close to cars. You got to take the good points and all this bad where you can. But the bad news is the suspect is believed to be armed. The suspect is driving a stolen vehicle itself, possibly a weapon. Police are unable at these speeds to successfully and safely use a pit maneuver or use spike strips. That's very unlikely. So we're in this for the long haul as they just try to wear this person down. There's almost no chance of them calling off a pursuit of an armed suspect fleeing in a stolen vehicle.
And you just wonder, you know, what they're thinking right now, you know, as they exit sometimes off surface streets and then get back onto the freeway. Are they thinking maybe when they exit those surface streets that they might lose officers for just a second even, and maybe try to do that and then get back on the freeway? Of course, getting on surface streets, as we were talking about with Mike Rogers at the desk, you know, putting spike strips out and pit maneuvers, obviously easier at slower speeds on surface streets, but the conditions have to be, you know, good on surface streets as well. There's got to be a clear path for them to do all of this. So, you know, him or her getting back on the freeway once again, you know, off and on, that's certainly not helping that situation.
You know, and we all day long have been airing an investigative piece about the number of car thefts skyrocketing. 25,509 car thefts last year. All of these car chases, virtually all of them, are stolen cars. This is one of the byproducts we see. Not every stolen car is a car chase, but we're seeing more car chases because, frankly, there are more stolen cars. Fortunately, in 2023, we're seeing a slight decrease in the number of auto thefts. Hopefully, we'll start seeing fewer and fewer chases like this, but tonight the chase is still on. This one has been going on for at least 20 minutes. If you're just joining us here on KCAL News, this is a stolen Nissan. The suspect driving is believed to be armed with what we think and have been told by authorities is most likely a ghost gun. How we know that, the specificity of a possible weapon in this car is still unclear, but authorities are just out of frame, following closely behind. This car's been racing down the 10, now the 605 south, getting on getting off, getting back on at speed, sometimes topping 100 miles an hour.
And we've covered a lot of ground here. You know, Ross, you were talking about the various freeways that this person has been on, and Mike was saying that we picked this up, actually, Desmond actually picked this up in the Ontario Mills area. And now I mean, look at us. We are in the East San Gabriel Valley. That's a lot of ground we covered so far, going back and forth on the 605, no less.
Which also always makes me wonder what's the plan, right? Not that we know, and maybe they don't even know either, but we've seen situations where people like kind of have a clear idea of where they want to go, a certain neighborhood, maybe that they're familiar with or whatever, and they go straight there. This person has not done that. The on and off the freeway, the up and down the 605, you know, we're kind of now making our way back to the way we came. So we'll see if he ends up going back eastbound towards San Bernardino County, where this whole thing started. And it's just, you know, it's hard to tell if these guys just think that let me drive long enough and eventually they'll get tired or get rid of me or what have you. But I can tell you that the CHP is just anecdotally will chase just about anything. There is not much that the CHP won't chase, which, you know, is this driver's, you know, worst nightmare because they can go the whole state. You know, we've already seen them cross over 3 of the CHP offices, the Santa Fe Springs, East LA for a little bit, and the Baldwin Park CHP office. So they've got no shortage of officers that are willing to take this over, and it'll keep going until this guy gives up or they do something to end it.
And Mike and Susie, as you well know, in the end, we always find out that there is no rhyme or reason. It is a criminal act, and there is very rarely a plan. We tend to believe that people try to head towards areas that they know.
I'm familiar with, sure.
But at the end of the day, it usually turns out that they are just running blindly, and no one knows what's going on in that car. The only good thing we can say, Des, as we continue to watch this, is no close calls yet. And this driver is using signals, and comparatively and relatively, we have to stress, not as erratic as chases we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and thank goodness for that. Let's go back to Mike Rogers at the desk for this update. Mike.
Yeah, we're just hearing from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office. I just got an email back from them. The pursuit started in Rancho Cucamonga, like I thought, near Arrow Route and Baker Avenue at 6:40. So this has been going on for a lot longer than we thought, almost an hour now as we come up on the 7:30, you know, bottom of the hour here at 7 o'clock. So this pursuit's been going on for a while. The vehicle is reported stolen, and it did begin when they tried to make a traffic stop on the car. CHP has taken it over. I did just ask them again about this whole weapon thing that we've been hearing and then we've been talking about. So hopefully they'll respond to me with that information. But now that we know 6:40 is when it started out in the Rancho Cucamonga area, and as we've been saying, it is reported stolen.
And what a crazy detail that ghost gun is. How they know that is really going to be interesting to find out. But the bottom line for authorities chasing right now, this person is armed with a weapon, armed with a pretty sizable vehicle, and speeding at times over 100 miles an hour. It looks safer to us watching from SkyCal up above, but it's a very dangerous situation out there for authorities right now.
Sure, and you know, going this fast on the freeway, and it only makes you wonder how long before this person runs out of gas. I mean, Desmond was, you know, talking about the fact that perhaps when this car was actually stolen, it had a low level of gas, and that's what we're hoping for, so that it'll, you know, wrap up, you know, pretty soon here. But if not, if they're on a full tank, I mean, certainly they've covered they've covered a lot of ground here in Southern California so far tonight, but still. They can have a lot more gas in that tank, which means they can go a lot further than this.
And Mike, perhaps the good news authorities haven't told you yet that anyone else is in the car, because certainly by now, the amount of detail we've had, we would know if this is a carjacking and someone else inside. That's some bit of good news.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, you know, CHP, when they get the want, that's what it's called, when they know what the vehicle is wanted for, they put it out over to their officers, and it's being described as a 10851 vehicle, which is the California Vehicle Code for a stolen vehicle. And if it was something else, as you suggested, Ross, carjacking or anything else, the want would be described as the more serious crime, which would have been the carjacking. So we've only heard CHP describe it as a stolen vehicle. And so that is the good news, that we probably or hopefully wasn't stolen by any means of force or anything like that.
Yeah, so then again, the question is, how does CHP know that this person is actually armed tonight?
Right.
You know, if they didn't actually report carjacking, maybe like we're talking about, somebody saw them with a gun, maybe maybe at one point they had it out the window, or maybe someone saw it, as they were, who knows?
And I'm just going to say, we also don't know the circumstances of the theft. If this was a family member who stole it from another family member, maybe that family member knows that this person has a gun.
And that would make a little more sense, wouldn't it? We talked a few minutes ago about the increase in auto thefts. And just a few months ago, we did another investigative piece on ghost guns and the national attempt to make it more difficult to purchase, to make sure that credit card companies did not authorize the transactions for the parts. A ghost gun is something you buy in a kit, for example, and you put the pieces together yourself. There's no serial number. It's a growing problem, and this chase tonight is really emblematic of two huge problems we're seeing: car thefts and ghost guns, a dangerous situation that we have been seeing more and more of.
Yeah, it's true. Let's go back upstairs to Desmond Shaw live in Skycal. I saw a patrol vehicle kind of speeding up ahead of another one. Are they changing out jurisdictions right now? Is that what's happening, CHP?
Most likely that's what's happening, because we have gone through quite a few different CHP offices on this one. I did want to mention, though, I've noticed that, sometimes we see the CHP or whoever the pursuing agency is, like, right up very close to the suspect, trying to really kind of keep pace with them. But I've noticed that they've kind of been keeping their distance. Now we're going to be getting off the freeway here, so let's see if it's going to be the kind of, reverse here as they get off, if they're going to try to make their way back to the East 60. But I'm wondering, if they're doing that because this person was going so fast, they don't want to kind of give them an excuse to try to drive even faster than 105, 110 miles an hour, because they would be very capable of keeping up with them if they wanted to. But they have been giving a pretty decent amount of distance, even now as we get off of the freeway here. That may also be because this person is believed to be armed and dangerous. Let's see if we can see in here. I think this is the first time we've seen the window down, and we're getting a view of the driver right now. Looks like they're wearing some dark clothing. Getting lit up here. Are they suddenly pulling over? Oh, who's this? Is this somebody? I just saw somebody.
Yeah, maybe the traffic forcing them to slow down there, Des.
I thought that person knew him, because he was beelining for that person.
Right. And we actually saw that a couple of weeks ago, where a suspect handed something off to someone else that was waiting for them. So you never know. But no, that just appeared to be a random bystander there jaywalking. So. Window is down. It's back up. No, it's down. It's kind of, I think he's rolling the window kind of up and down right now. So let's see. This is actually, so far, the longest that we've been off of the freeway, I think. Where they got off right here in the Montebello area was not an area where they could just get off the freeway and then make a left and get right back on the freeway, the way that the 60 kind of runs through that area. So let's see if this is where they meant to go, or if this is just random and if they're lost. But so far, the longest distance that we've been off the freeway, and we'll see if the speeds get up pretty high, up to 40 miles an hour, but still nothing super dangerous in the way of the driving besides the speed that we've seen.
Des, it's so interesting that we had a glimpse there of the driver, and it's very interesting to see the body language. Many times we get the glimpse and someone's inside frantic on the phone, making gestures. This person, for that brief second, seemed just out for a drive, casual,
and
arm out the window.
Why did they put their arm out the window?
Exactly.
Why not, keep those windows closed so no one can recognize him, or,
And authorities look at this closely to see what the state is, what the emotion is.
Absolutely.
They have to always factor in the risk of what this person is going to do when that car finally stops. And it will stop.
That's right. Mike Rogers with an update.
Yeah, CHP is being given information right now, and it sounded like it was coming from one of the air units, but I couldn't tell really which one. The vehicle was stolen out of El Monte, which we are getting closer to. I mean, he passed it already, but now we're kind of moving our way back eastbound. So if it was stolen out of El Monte, it's unclear if this person is from there or what their connection is to that city. But it makes a little bit more sense that we're kind of around this area now that we know that that's where it was stolen.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My glimpse of that person, it looked like an older, didn't it? Someone, not a teenager. Yeah, and we've seen this trend as we look into the auto thefts, that we're seeing a slight uptick. This is anecdotal, of teenagers taking these cars for a joyride. There have been some ways to start cars that are on the internet with Kia and Hyundai. the automakers are addressing those issues right now, but there has been a slight uptick, anecdotally, from my police sources, that's what's been happening. In this particular car, Nissan, we haven't heard of any security vulnerabilities, and as you saw there, it was not a teen, so that's interesting to note. It looked like maybe someone in their 30s from what we could see.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but you know, right now we're going through these dark, narrow surface streets and not going fast. Thank goodness for that. It looks like they are slowing down for the stop sign here with the CHP right behind them, but kind of like, okay, should I make a right or left turn here? It looks like they're going left, but in this neighborhood, and you're just hoping that no one's out walking around. It looks like we're going to get back on a major thoroughfare here, but you know, just again, you know, when they're on the surface streets, obviously the CHP talking about what their plan is right now. Are we going to attempt to do a spike strip or perhaps a pit maneuver at some point? You know, they're looking for that pattern. First of all, this person needs, I mean, they need to get some sort of pattern down. Now they're going down some alleyway. You know, will there be officers set up at the end of this alleyway? You know, they have to pick up that pattern. This person keeps going in circles, that's more likely, and it's easier to do, obviously, but when the person was on the freeway constantly, that was not an option.
You know, my feeling is when they get into these side streets in the darker areas like this, that they're looking for a place to bail. They're looking for a place to stop. It's just a hunch, but that's what's going through police officers' minds right now, that this person seems calm, rolling down the window. Was it an attempt to communicate? Oh, here we go. Very close
Tight
here.
squeeze.
That's the closest we've seen now. So they're trying to anticipate what's going through the mind of the suspect. Are they wearing this person down? Are they looking for an out? Are they looking for a way to end this safely? It's hard to tell. What are you seeing, Desmond?
Well, I know, knowing this area here and the way that the 60 kind of acts like a wall between Montebello and Monterey Park, if the suspect's not familiar with where they are, and the way they made a couple of those turns made it seem like they're not sure where they are, and they could very easily run into a dead-end street here if they don't stay on one of the more major streets. So I'm just wondering if that's going to happen now at this point. But yeah, you see CHP, they will be ready if this person does go into a dead end. And by the way, even if they do, and they run to a cul-de-sac or something like that, you know, they can certainly turn around and try to force their way back out. I mean, obviously that infamous pursuit we had just a couple of weeks ago that took a really insane turn when the suspect got boxed in. And then you're also talking, you know, about an armed person. So, you know, CHP may not want that to happen either. And a lot of times too, if they do drive into kind of a one-way street into a dead end, they will a lot of times allow the suspect some room to squeeze by, which, you know, sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but, you know, they just don't know the mental state of the person that they're dealing with. And if they, you know, have reason to believe that this person is armed, then, you know, they don't want to box that person in too much. Obviously, if they're not going to surrender, you know, the next best thing CHP is hoping for is that, you know, they're going to get out and run and hopefully not have that weapon, and they can, you know, tackle the person on the ground and get them into custody. Let's see, did they? No, I thought they were going to be there.
We all thought the same thing.
To get back to the 60.
Listen, it bears
but yeah, no.
It bears repeating, like we always do. If you're watching this here on KCAL News and you're in this area here in Southgate East Los Angeles, of course, please stay very far from the road. You know, when these people are driving and the choppers are above shining these lights, it's very quiet to watch us from KCAL, SkyCal, but these people are discombobulated. You don't know what's going through their mind. You don't want to be anywhere near at something like this.
Jump out at any time, as we have seen in front of any home, you know, force their way into homes using the weapon that they have that we're talking about tonight.
Absolutely.
Which obviously turns it into an entirely different dangerous situation. But again, CHP officials not letting this one go, obviously, tonight. This person is armed. They want to get to this person. Again, we don't know how many people are inside this car. We saw that one person when they rolled down the window, which was the driver, of course, but we don't know if they have passengers inside this car. It's unclear right now. But again, this is a stolen pursuit that started, a stolen car pursuit that started at 6:40, as Mike at the desk was talking about. So 1 hour now into this pursuit, the car was stolen out of El Monte, and we picked it up in the Ontario Mills Mall area, Rancho Cucamonga. So they have made quite the distance, the trip from all the way out there to here, and it makes you wonder, they steal the car thinking that they'll get away, got caught there, and started rushing back this way.
That's right. The car was stolen in El Monte. The police discovered it was stolen in Rancho Cucamonga, trying to pull this car over. Perhaps that's where they realized, we don't know what that traffic stop was like, whether they actually were able to walk up to the car before they took off. Sure. But in the meantime, as Mike Rogers on the desk first told us, we've learned that they are armed, that they do have what's believed to be a ghost gun. Let's go over to Mike right now for the very latest. Mike, any new information coming in?
Yeah, the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office tells me they're looking into the details regarding the gun. That information had initially been relayed to the CHP officers when they were picking this up in the Inland Empire. And again, I'll remind you that the Inland Empire CHP officers didn't actually take the chase. San Bernardino Sheriff stayed with it right actually until we came on the air. And as we came on the air, pedestrian. Ooh, that was close. As we came on the air, that's when CHP was taking it over on the LA County side. So, at least the freeways, and this always makes me nervous when we get on surface streets, because at least the freeways, there's no pedestrians. The traffic's all going the same way. This time of night, it's generally light. But you got a person who I really don't think knows where he's going. Susie, you mentioned when we were in a neighborhood several minutes ago, he kind of turned right and then turned, and it almost looked like he saw that big street off to his left, and then that's why he decided to kind of veer left. And that's just indicative of somebody who has no idea where they're at in this neighborhood. Desmond mentioned trying to split the freeway, the 60 freeway there, to get south of it. So you've got a person who I can only assume is just trying to do whatever they can to get away from the police, and hopefully they thinking you go through these neighborhoods and you'll lose them. That's not going to be the case. There are, including television helicopters, 7 helicopters above him.
Wow.
He's not going to get lost.
Mike, can I ask you if that's unusual to have 7 helicopters overhead?
So it is and it isn't. I mean, you have CHP. They're the primary helicopter, that one we keep seeing go through Desmond's shot. That's the helicopter that is down low calling this. And then you have 40 King from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department that is kind of staying a little bit higher, monitoring it. That's not unusual either. When the Sheriff's Department in San Bernardino is involved in a chase and it's their kind of case, they oftentimes will stick with it even if it's out of their county. They've got more than one helicopter over there. It doesn't kill them to lose one to come monitor this chase, because the other issue here is that the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office radios are encrypted. Right. Mm-hmm. So the Sheriff's Department helicopter can relay information to those other units, whereas the CHP helicopter would probably have a little bit of a difficult time, or at least a little more challenging time, switching back and forth between radios to talk to the San Bernardino deputies, whereas this Sheriff's helicopter can keep everybody informed. And I'm looking to see just really quick if the LA County Sheriff's Office looks like they're in the area a little bit to the south, but they've kind of pulled off too. So it's not terribly uncommon to have 2 law enforcement helicopters, and then the rest are us, and
And we always want to point out, Mike and Susie, that even though we're seeing the aircraft fly through our shot and it looks like we're close, SkyCal safety is always first. We're zoomed in incredibly tight, and they are always monitoring to make sure that we are a safe distance and nowhere near interfering with anything that is happening out there logistically. Let's go back out to Desmond Shaw for the very latest. Desmond, how far are we now from any highway? It looks to us here that this person is completely lost in the side streets. Are they heading to an area where it looks like they're boxed in and no chance of getting back on the highway?
Well, we are. I can see the 60 out the left window just fine. We're actually pretty close, paralleling the 60 as we're eastbound, but there's no immediate on-ramp right here. We're kind of heading towards, and folks that live in this area will know that once you get past part of the Montebello area, there's no entrances, or there's only one entrance. It's kind of, there's only one way to really access it over by that big shopping center to pick up one of the ramps for the 60 freeway. So they're well involved in these neighborhoods. Not looking like they do look pretty discombobulated, pretty aimless at this point, and it's unclear if they're looking for the freeway or what. But they're just pretty lucky that they haven't run into any dead ends. But that may begin to change as we start to get near this hill over by the Garvey Reservoir, where the streets don't really function like a grid so much. They get a little bit more squirrely, winding in different directions, and there's definitely some one-way streets in that area. But I mean, we've been turning right, turning left, going north, going east. Now we're eastbound here, so I'd say about a mile east of the Atlantic Boulevard on-ramp for some context here in the Montebello area.
Yeah, you know, you're probably wondering at home, you know, often as viewers, why isn't the CHP just pushing this car right now? Why aren't they doing a spike strip or doing a pit maneuver? You know, you notice the streets, Ross, that they were driving on just now, very narrow with cars on either side, and they're not going to attempt something like that in a situation like that. The pit maneuver, the spike strips, I mean, it's a very methodical, both of them operations. They have to make sure, of course, like you were saying, safety is their priority in any of those events. So obviously in a small, you know, neighborhood like that, I'm sure they would like to give that car a little push, but you got to think about what could happen. Are we getting back on the freeway now, Desmond?
Well, I think we're going to be. It seems like that's where the suspect was. Yeah, we're at Garfield there, which, you know, they did actually have an opportunity there to get on the freeway. But now we're on Whittier Boulevard, which will be paralleling the 60 through East LA, Montebello, and over towards the city of Whittier. So this is the busiest street I think we've seen them on so far, which could definitely be crowded many other times of the day, but now as we're getting, you know, pretty close to 8 o'clock, things kind of starting to empty out. Obviously a lot of businesses on this street, but a lot of them have set up shop, or closed shop I should say, for the day. We'll just widen out to see just how far back CHP is there. If you notice, there was quite a few other law enforcement who were kind of monitoring this. I think you drove by a Montebello PD.
Well, I was going to mention that
CHP that was facing the other way.
Yeah, I was thinking how fortunate, because it seemed like the authorities were starting to anticipate, right? He drove almost head on into another one, and that could have been a moment, but unfortunately now getting back on these main roads here. And you know, as Susie was talking about, we all think that it would be so easy to do a pit maneuver or the spike strip, but as Mike pointed out earlier, it is unlikely they're going to do a pit maneuver where this person is armed and swing that car back around facing them. So they're, you know, it's safety first, and these things are highly calculated by the CHP, and it appears, Mike, Desmond, and Susie, that here we go into a parking lot. That they're just going to have to wear this person down.
We just hope this person doesn't park and go into the Target. We've seen that
so many
not
times.
too long
That's what I'm thinking is going to
And then
happen.
there are people on the street.
Oh, boy.
And you know, that's probably why those Montebello units were there. So we've talked about this before. CHP doesn't share.
Wow.
Oh, now this is super dangerous.
yeah.
This is the worst
Yeah.
situation right now.
I think this was the plan. I'm thinking this was the plan. Go into a big shopping center and ditch the
parking
vehicle.
lot.
Ooh, pretty close there. Wow. That guy had to back up, get out of the way there. But look at, I mean, you see how many units are involved in this now. They're coordinating this very well. They were standing by at many different locations. I really thought we were going to see this person get out and run into one of those stores. It's certainly a common tactic with these pursuits. If they get out into a Walmart or a Home Depot or a huge store, if they just have 20 or 30 seconds. We have actually seen suspects get away that way, but he didn't see what he liked there or what, but now it was pretty, you know, we're up to 45 miles an hour there in that parking lot where all kinds of people were running around. But now we're back out onto Whittier Boulevard headed westbound.
You know, relatively speaking, it's a good thing that they're out of that parking lot, fewer people in danger.
Absolutely.
And as you know, he's probably looking for covered parking as well to get out a view of the chopper. Can you pull out just slightly a little and show us the general area? How close are we now to the highway? Is that the direction he's heading in?
We are still, yeah, so the Whittier will parallel the 60 freeway and basically goes, you know, over near kind of the East LA Interchange, turns into 6th Street and the 6th Street Bridge if they want to stick to it the entire way. But yeah, a low-rise commercial district here, Whittier Boulevard. This is, you know, definitely a busy commercial sector in the daytime. Lots of restaurants out here, gas stations. There's a Starbucks right there. Now circling back around, So now, whereas earlier we were really, the suspect was wanting to stay on the freeway, now it seems like they really want to stay on the surface streets and doubling back on Whittier Boulevard, wondering if they're going to make another attempt maybe in that shopping center.
You know, it looked like a few moments ago you could actually see the driver better than we've seen with the window up. So it makes me wonder if they're on the phone, maybe they're from this area, maybe they're trying to communicate, maybe they're trying to come up with a plan to meet someone. We see this happen so many times. The good news in that is that hopefully they're looking for a way out.
It's true.
An ending to this.
Again,
after more than an hour.
Sure. Back out west, when we were more east earlier, when we first picked this up, again, this pursuit has been going on now for an hour and about 11 minutes. Mike Rogers at the desk with some new information for us. Mike?
Yeah, so we're listening to this because this person is going up and down Whittier Boulevard. CHP has some ideas of some things that they may want to try. Of course, we don't want to give away tactical information here, but I also wanted to point out, we've seen it a couple of times now, and there's one right there, all of the Monterey Park PD units that Montebello PD units that are here. Montebello PD is not technically involved in the pursuit. CHP does not share pursuits. They either have full control of the pursuit or they're not in it at all. They don't want to do that. But you have these Montebello units that are kind of hovering around the area because if he goes into a shopping center like we saw, if he runs into a store, then they'll get involved. And then they're there, they're ready. They can help the CHP deal with all of this. I will say there were kind of more CHP units involved in this than we generally see in these pursuits. It's usually 3 units and a supervisor. Right. It seemed like I saw even more than that in this. So CHP may have gotten permission to have a couple of more units in this, and then we've got Montebello PD kind of hovering around this area as well in case this, ends in a foot bail or something where they're going to need additional officers to be able to take this person into custody.
And if you're just joining us here on KCAL News, this has been going on for about an hour and 15 minutes now. This Nissan was stolen out of El Monte earlier today. The authorities became involved when they tried a traffic stop in Rancho Cucamonga, and that's when the race was on. At this point, CHP is in control of this pursuit. We know that the suspect inside here is armed. We believe just one person in the car, based on information coming into Mike at the desk on the priorities here, and we believe this person is armed with a ghost gun. He's been driving at speeds topping 100 miles an hour. We saw 109 on the 10 earlier this evening, and now he seems mired here in the side streets in Southgate, East Los Angeles.
That's right. And speaking of side streets, Ross, we were talking about the fact that in the beginning of this pursuit, when we first picked it up in the 7 o'clock hour, at the top of the 7, we were talking about freeways, that this person has stuck with the freeways. We were talking about the 10 freeway, the 605 freeway. They're going, in fact, up and down the 605 freeway, going northbound, then southbound, getting off certain freeways, then getting back on just as soon as he got off.
Exactly.
And this is the longest that we've actually seen this person on surface streets tonight. And as Mike was saying, this is kind of that opportunity when the CHP is, having their discussions about what are we going to do about this? Are we going to be setting up units, probably in the area where they might believe this person is traveling to or towards? They're trying to pick up that pattern, and as I was talking about earlier, to possibly do something like that, a pit maneuver, or perhaps spike strips, more likely because of the fact that this person is armed, a possibility.
And we have to talk about the very few positive indications we've seen in this. This person has not had any direct run-ins with cars, not gone the wrong way. He's been signaling when changing lanes. We had one tense moment, Des, just a few moments ago when they ran through the parking lot and pedestrians were present. But the good news is it hasn't been insanely erratic. The bad news, the car is stolen. It itself is a weapon. As we look at the driver inside, it looks like a male who we believe is armed. We don't believe that they're young, teenager.
Spike strip attempt.
Is that what he's going around? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was zoomed really way in there. I wanted to try to get a look at the driver, and there was a spike strip attempt there by CHP. So they are getting pretty serious. Unfortunately, it looked like the suspect was able to dodge it, but and now back off of Whittier Boulevard. So they could kind of see the pattern that this person was doing, and you see the excellent coordination going on there with all of those units on the ground, as well as the eyes in the sky, the tactical flight officer that's the second person in the CHP chopper that's helping to kind of coordinate all these things. Now hitting a little bit of traffic on the surface streets, and wrong side of the road there. So yeah, I mean, you were saying, that the car is a weapon, Ross, and you're absolutely right. I mean, what we saw in that parking lot there, where the grocery stores and the Target was, 40 miles an hour, where people are out there walking, that is fast enough to kill someone. So that is definitely the most dangerous driving that we've seen so far. And I sure thought that they were going to make another attempt at getting out and running into a store or something. But now we're back in these little surface streets here, little residential streets. Someone trying to back up there, and here it comes through. And so, you know, pretty narrow streets out here, and really anything above 30 miles an hour could be pretty dangerous for anybody out here.
This is an early edition of KCAL News at 8 alongside Chauncey Glover and Mike Rogers at the desk and Desmond Shaw and his crew in SkyCal. Good evening, everyone. I'm Susie Suh. We've been following this pursuit of a stolen car for about an hour now. The car was actually stolen or reported stolen earlier today, and it was actually in the El Monte area that this car was stolen out of. We picked it up in the Rancho Cucamonga area, more far out east, and then they made their way back west, heading on the 10 eastbound, the 605 freeway, going south and northbound. I want to go to Mike Rogers at the desk now. Mike, we've seen one attempted spike strip so far. This means that they're getting in that time now where they're saying, hey, we kind of see this pattern happening here. They're no longer on the freeways. We can possibly do something now. Yeah,
you know, Susie and Chauncey, I just played back the record from Desmond, and he completely missed it. He saw it and was able to completely go around it. Not by much, though. It was close, but he was able to go around it. And I think that really woke him up, because we were playing this game where we were going up and down Whittier Boulevard, back and forth, and that's what gave CHP their opportunity to try this, because they knew that he was just going in circles. Not long after at all that they tried that spike, he pulled off. He's back to doing what we're doing, which is driving all around kind of aimlessly on different streets here, which is what makes it really difficult for CHP to try to lay out a spike, because they now don't know where he's going, right? So that was kind of his fatal flaw to begin with here, was that he was just going up and down the same street. CHP got wise to that, tried the spike strip, didn't work, and now this guy's figured that out, and we're back to going just wherever here.
Now, we understand that this person is armed with a ghost gun, and that's obviously increasing the security level of all of this, you know, where we might have seen a spike strip or perhaps even a pit maneuver earlier on in this pursuit, especially when they're on the surface streets like this. Officers might not attempt something like that, Mike, because of that reason. Right.
You know, we have been on surface streets long enough, and the speeds have been low enough that if they wanted to do a pit maneuver, I believe that they would have probably had the opportunity by now. And as we look at Desmond's shot, if they were going to, you would see that back patrol car really inching up right behind the car, getting much closer, but we don't. They're keeping several car lengths distance between that car, which to me would believe that they're not interested in trying to do a pit maneuver.
Gotcha. And Mike, you know, we saw that one dramatic moment in the parking lot. Talk about that. We thought that we would see CHP kind of move more aggressively after that, because there were people in that parking lot, and that was potentially a very dangerous situation.
It so is, Chauncey. I mean, you know, and we've seen so many times where, as Desmond mentioned, if the suspect just has about 20 or 30 seconds, they can get out of the car, run in a store, and be lost, you know, and by the time that everyone's able to get perimeter set up, they could be out the back door, they could be, you know, completely in the wind. But CHP has had such good coordination on this, they already were at the other end of the parking lot waiting for him to come out. So you had the units that were behind him. Obviously, they're not going to drive like he was in the parking lot, but you had them already waiting, and so he obviously could tell that this was not his moment to try to get away and get in that store. You also had all those Montebello units that were not involved in the pursuit, but were in the area and hovering around to be able to assist CHP if he were to try to do something like that. So I think that he kind of realized that that wasn't going to stop anything. We've seen this person just kind of try to throw anything they can at the wall and see what sticks. On the freeway, up and down, on and off, on surface streets, you know, down one street or into the neighborhoods. And now we're kind of right back against the 60 freeway, it looks like.
Yeah, that's right. You're watching KCAL News at 8. Again, a pursuit of a stolen car tonight. We believe the driver of this car right now is armed, and that's why CHP officials are taking all the precautions, obviously, as Mike was talking about. We might have seen a pit maneuver on something like this already, but we're not, because of the fact that this person is armed, which certainly raises the security level for both officers and the public. They want to make sure that safety is their #1 priority. But I want to talk about spike strips for a second, because of the fact that this is not an easy operation. It might seem like the CHP just throws some spike strips out there, just out there randomly, but it's a very methodical procedure. They're very heavy be, first of all, they need to take him out of the case. It's kind of like an accordion as we watch this pursuit make its way to this right side
this
here.
street is kind of
Maybe
narrow
pulling
here.
over for the first time. Desmond, let's go upstairs to you. This is the first time we're seeing them pull over.
Well, yeah, and of course, the usual pursuit tree gets in the way as well. My diligent pilot, Mike, maneuvering SkyCal around the tree to try to look, is this where the person is surrendering? Here you can see CHP out with guns drawn. I just noticed this person right here who almost looked like they were giving direction to the person as they were pulling up. I could have sworn I saw that person make like some kind of hand motion at this person. But and now we make a turn here and we have stopped. Let's widen out and see if this is a dead end, because I'm kind of surprised that the suspect hasn't hit a dead end yet. I can't quite tell. Don't want to zoom out too much farther. So let's go back in and see if we see some hands out the window or what the deal is. If they've just had enough and realized that, you know, this was kind of a waste of time, but not seeing them surrender yet. Usually, you know, if they want to give up, we'll see some hands out the window or something. CHP obviously giving them those commands, you know, tell them, let's see your hands, or throw the keys out, something like that. But no movement yet.
All right, and you know, this is a very kind of volatile situation. It could turn in just a matter of seconds. Mike, I want to go back to you to talk about the dangers of this situation. CHP saying this person allegedly may have a ghost gun. We know that has been a major topic here when we talk to law enforcement officials about these ghost guns and getting them off the streets. There's no way to trace them. And when you look about research about these ghost guns all across the country, police departments are grappling with these ghost guns and trying to get them off the street.
Yeah, it's a huge issue, and you know, it's unclear. I asked San Bernardino Sheriff's Office about the gun. That's how this originally came through. Is that the CHP units in the Inland Empire were notified of it by the Sheriff's Department, who was in pursuit. Now we believe that the chase or the vehicle is taken out of El Monte, which brings in another law enforcement agency into this. So we'll probably have to get some details from them if they're the ones that originally took the stolen car report. I want to talk about two things though. This is not a dead end. Neither one of these streets are a dead end, so he could continue going. And that person that we saw, you know, Des thought he saw them motioning, and I played back the video, and he definitely is in the street when this car comes by, and does kind of put out his hand like a stop motion type thing. So interesting to me that person was out there. If they saw this on TV and wanted to, you know, get involved, which is obviously not the right thing to do at all.
Or do they know that person?
I was about to say, yeah. It also begs the question as to why this driver suddenly decided to stop here now that we know that this is not a dead-end road. Desmond, we're going to go back up to you as far as the pursuit ending right here, and we know that this is not a dead-end road. What is CHP doing now as we await to see what's going to happen here and see if this driver is going to surrender?
Well, you know, they could certainly go in the other way, and indeed you can see that this road does come out. If they wanted to get up ahead, they could put out a spike strip to deter this person from continuing. That's a pretty common tactic if they can get in and, you know, seal the other side of this street. So again, it's kind of far away. I don't want to go up there in case this person decides to get out and run or anything else. So let's stay focused here for a bit. But you know, my definitely kind of scratching my head at that person. That certainly seemed like a little bit more than a coincidence that they were there. I mean, we've been trying to think what could be going on with this suspect. Mike raised the possibility of, you know, maybe it was stolen from a family member or something like that. And the way, frankly, this person was driving, first I thought it was aimless, but that they haven't driven into any wrong way streets tells me that this person probably is pretty familiar with this area. So is this where they live? Was that a relative? Was that a friend? It just didn't look random. That person that was standing there, they've since been, I'm pretty sure okay, see, they're actually talking right now.
Right.
I think that's the person right
Yes.
there. They're talking with an officer right now. So I highly doubt that is just some bystander. It seems very, very likely that this is someone that the suspect knows.
Yeah, and Desmond, it looks like that person might have been telling this driver, hey, stop. And then a few seconds later, as soon as we get here on this road, the driver actually stops. So it may be likely that this driver does know that person who was waving at him, telling him to stop.
Yeah, maybe they were on the phone with that person before they made this right turn here and said, you know, this is what the jam I'm in right now, and here I come. And that person just said stop, and that's when the CHP also, you know, pulled over with this person right now. But the guns are trained on this person. So far, this person has not come out, so this could end up turning into a standoff situation, as we have seen many times after pursuits. It often happens, but if that does happen, we're going to talk about the CHP bringing in their ballistic shield and all kinds of different options. But because of the fact that this person is armed, that could certainly change their after pursuit operations here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out, during the chase, we did hear them coordinating less lethal options. So they made sure that they had officers involved in this chase that had those less lethal options already. And as you know, we kind of wait for this person to figure out if they're going to come out or not. I want to ask the control room if we can come to my computer here, because I just kind of want to show you where we're at and where we've been. So this circle right here is a CHP helicopter, obviously circling over Fernfield Drive and Fulton Avenue. But as I pull out a little bit here, you can see the tail of the CHP helicopter. We've not gone, you know, a terribly distance. It's been going on for a while here, but you could just, he's taking off again.
Taking off again.
On the move.
Yep. Back on the move here. So we're going to come up to the end of the street, and we'll see if CHP has a unit here and if they have spike strips or what.
Yeah, it looks like they do have.
And so, yeah, I don't see any spike strips, though.
No.
And this is what I mentioned earlier, how, you know, you would think that, I'm surprised that they didn't have a spike strip down there, but I'm not surprised that they weren't blocking the street completely, because this person is armed and they have no idea what this person is capable of. So that's why they didn't want to box their officers in. And look at that, just as we were hoping that the suspect was going to give up, they are on the move again.
I mean,
so you know, go ahead, Susie.
I was just going to say, Desmond, it was just so coincidental that this person happened to stop at that, you know, right place where that person was, that bystander, or whoever that person was. You know, and we thought that this was the end of the chase because of that reason, that they had, you know, come to grips with the fact that they're going to, you know, get chased all night and just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to give up, and I'm going to give it up in an area that I'm familiar with and nearby, you know, someone I'm familiar with as well. And it didn't happen.
It did, and you know, one of the positives about that is they had that brief minute where they were able to speak with that guy. So if the guy that was standing in the street has any connection to this driver at all, hopefully those CHP officers were able to gain a little bit of intel from him that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten if the car didn't stop. So hopefully that gives them a little bit more insight into what they're dealing with here. If this person has any other mental health issues, if there's anything else going on here that would give CHP kind of a clue, even a phone number, maybe they can call him. Dispatchers will do that all the time. So hopefully they were able to get something out of that at least.
Yeah, that's true. Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal tonight, giving us this shot of this pursuit that's been going on now for more than an hour and a half. We've been on it since 7 o'clock, the top of the 7 o'clock hour. And we picked it up in the Rancho Cucamonga area near Ontario Mills Mall. And this car was stolen out of the El Monte area. And we do believe this person is armed with a ghost gun. And obviously the CHP in pursuit, and they have been staying in pursuit, not relinquishing it to any other jurisdictions or departments. They have been on the freeway for most of the pursuit, but now I want to say that most of the pursuit has been on surface streets for a good part of, you know, I would say 30, 40 minutes now. We've been on surface streets, giving officers the opportunity to try to, you know, some of these stop techniques like the pit maneuver, the spike strips, the attempt that we saw earlier. And I want to talk about the spike strips again as we see this person slow down for the traffic. You know, we're talking about how, you know, in a situation like this, you know, where everything is happening so fast, adrenaline is running, obviously, these officers have to put these spike strips out so quickly and so efficiently that for them to even go over it, it's a huge deal to have success on a spike strip. It's not as easy as it might look. You know, the officers have to throw them out. Once they get them out, they have to throw them out like kind of like an accordion, and then they have to get out of the way and pull it back, you know, because they could actually put themselves in danger by being in the way. if this car is, flying down the street and they're trying to hit the spike strip. So,
and with that being said, Desmond, are you surprised? They had probably about a minute or two there while the driver was stopped on that side street in that neighborhood to put those spike strips out. They had the CHP there at the end of the street. Were you surprised that they did not have the spike strips out, being that we were waiting on this driver and sitting still for almost 2 minutes there?
I was definitely surprised to see that, and if that was if they were not wanting to use that strategy for whatever reason, maybe, or if they didn't have any available. I mean, we know that they have them available, so I'm really unclear why. And we know that they're willing to use them. They already tried at least once, possibly twice earlier to use one, and they would have had more than enough time for those officers that have the spike strip to retrieve them and drive up to where they were at. And we haven't covered so much distance that those officers wouldn't have had time to do that. So I am definitely perplexed as to why they chose not to use a spike strip on this one. But we're just, I know a lot of gears are turning in a lot of people's heads right now. What is going on with this person? And with not just with the suspect, but whoever that was that looked like they were motioning to the suspect and then talking to CHP, remaining on the scene. If that person wasn't involved, CHP would have told them to get out of the area. And instead, CHP was talking with whoever that was wearing the white polo, and I saw them kind of motion like, okay, stay behind this line, stay behind the white limit line there that was in the roadway, which I think we can, pretty safely put the pieces of that puzzle together, that, these people are acquainted in one way or another. And so, then the fact that we are talking about a ghost gun, a very specific thing, how this vehicle was stolen, I can't help but wonder if this is some kind of family situation that's going on with everything that we've seen. Getting a little bit boxed in here. Let's see what they decide to do. Going to go through the gas station here.
Yeah. And Mike,
through the under the awning.
And Mike, you heard Desmond there. He's turning around, but he's boxed in there.
Oh.
Uh-oh, he squeezes by.
Yep, and back out. Just kind of do-si-do back out onto the street.
Chris, you heard Desmond talking about this could possibly be some kind of family situation or maybe even a mental health situation. We're still waiting for official word from police, but when you think about the dramatic situation we had there in the parking lot where you had people around and in danger, and also going on the freeway up and down at one point the wrong way, and then what we just saw right there in that neighborhood, it doesn't seem like they are being as aggressive that you might think they would, especially knowing that this person might have this ghost gun.
Yeah, each agency kind of handles things differently. I will say CHP, and we're back in a parking lot now as we come back out here. I will say CHP is a little bit, yes, they'll chase everything, but they are a little more, I don't know if gentle is the right word, but they're not as aggressive as we see some of the other agencies. Like, for example, San Bernardino Sheriff's Office, who started this, they'll get you. They'll come at you hard, and they will end a pursuit. The CHP is a little bit more, we'll stay with it, but we're not going to make some real risky, dangerous type of moves here. They're more of a, we'll keep following the car until this driver chooses to give up here. But that's kind of, I think, the difference in why CHP really hasn't gotten too aggressive with it. And again, CHP is not the initiating agency here. So they're not El Monte PD, which took the stolen car report. They're not the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office, which started the pursuit. So CHP is also working off third-hand information. It's still from law enforcement, so I'm sure they trust it and all of that, but it's not anything that their officers have witnessed, which may make them, just kind of want to just stay with this and follow it a little bit more versus taking some real aggressive action.
Gotcha. And at one point, I understand we got pretty high. You talk about over 100 miles per hour.
Yeah. I mean, we were going quick on the freeways. The majority, and now we've gone on for so long, the majority is on surface streets. But when we first started this, they were on the freeway for a long time and driving real fast, up into the triple digits, which I kind of have been, we've talked about this, but this person's really done all of the usual things that a person tries when they're trying to get away. Real fast, back on and off the freeway, on the surface streets, through the shopping center. He's checking a lot of the boxes of how do I lose the cops, and it's not working.
It's true. Yeah, Desmond, it looks like this person did have maybe a full tank when they first stole the car.
Yeah, quite possibly. This is a smaller on the SUV scale of things. I think these cars are equipped with 4-cylinder engines, maybe decent fuel economy. I'm thinking low to mid 20s for a Nissan Murano. I actually have a good car friend who will, a car savant friend who will probably text me the exact details here within the next couple of minutes if he's watching. But we did also just learn too that if CHP has learned that the driver is a female, we heard them say that. So it sounds like they probably got that information at the very least from whoever that was on the sidewalk earlier when the vehicle stopped, who we are pretty confident knows who this suspect is. So it seems that they got that information at the very least. And they're saying that it is a female driver. Mike, go ahead.
Fairly unusual to see female drivers in pursuits. Obviously, we had that one a couple of weeks ago that ended up being a woman as well, but not terribly common to see female drivers in these chases.
Yeah, it's true. If you're just joining us here on KCAL News at 8, this is breaking news. We've been following this pursuit of a stolen car now going down this dark, narrow road in the city of, I believe we are in the
Monterey Park area
now. Wow. Well, we started this pursuit. We picked it up in the Ontario Mills Mall area. That's in Rancho Cucamonga, and made our way west. And they've been in this area, the San Gabriel Valley, for the good part of 40 minutes now. And there was one spike strip attempt that was not successful. As you can see, this car is moving along just fine. And it looked like that person was going to stop. They did make a stop temporarily as CHP officers were talking to somebody that we believe is acquainted to this person in some fashion, in some way or fashion. We have no idea how they're related, but we do know that that person was possibly giving some information to CHP officers about this person before they decided to take off once again. Yeah, then taking off once again, getting back on the run. Then we, a short time later, see the driver that we now know, according to CHP, is a woman, pull into the gas station parking lot, turn around, and then get back right on the road. Now back on the run, trying to get away from police. And, this is a situation that police are watching closely and that we have to watch closely too. Mike Rogers, we've been talking about this. I want to bring you back in because it could get very dangerous when you have allegations that a person is armed, but not only armed, but armed with the ghost gun that we know has become a problem.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier too, but just the fact that we're on surface streets versus freeways, unbelievably are actually safer because everyone's going in the same direction. There's no pedestrians, there's no parked cars. It's a little bit easier for them. And this pursuit has been going on. I mean, we're coming up on a little over an hour and a half now, to the point, if you heard Desmond, we're doing some housekeeping here at the desk, figuring out how much fuel SkyCal has left, and we've only got about 30 minutes of fuel left because we were up actually before the chase started. So this person is they're content with going, and CHP is content with chasing them. And that's probably what CHP is okay with. That's why, again, we probably haven't seen another kind of any aggressive moves. We're going about 30 miles an hour. We are on surface streets, which makes everyone a little bit more nervous, but we're not. And there's was there spike strips there, Des, or just a unit parked? Just a unit parked, it looked like.
Yeah, it was just a unit parked. Yeah, I was widening out to see that I didn't see any spike strips there. So, yeah, and we are still kind of hanging around the same area, just kind of on either side, kind of going north of the 60, south of the 60. We're headed northbound, although we are still south of the 60 freeways. Back onto Garfield. This is the third or fourth time. Is this actually the same gas station? Yeah, same gas station. Wow. We were just kind of looping around earlier as well. So, if they want to do something with a spike strip, it seems like they would have the opportunity to do that, circling around again out here onto Garfield. But you can see those 4 actually units that are right on this. They are ready to, if the suspect gets out and runs, they are definitely ready. But this person, boy, it sure just seems like they're kind of running out the clock at this point. Yeah, and then it makes you wonder why they're staying in this area and not getting back on the freeway, as Mike was talking about. Are they, still talking to maybe some of their acquaintances, friends, family members, deciding what to do next as they just keep on going on these surface streets, Mike? Yeah, and as Des gets tight in there, Des, it looked like there may be a light coming from the driver's seat. I wonder if they're on the phone. Did you see that as well? I did briefly see a little bit of a flash there. And, it sure looked like that person earlier that we referenced, that they might have had their flashlight on a phone or something, like maybe they were on the phone with this person as well. So I think probably a lot of communication has been going on. Now back into another little neighborhood here on Via San de Lauro Street. So yeah, still kind of hanging around this same area.
Yeah.
Let's see if they loop back around to where they stopped at.
Des, and I was just about to say, you see the driver, this woman, looping around, going back to that gas station, and then, of course, on that side road, seeing that person gesturing her to stop. It seems like that this driver may know this area.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, we had heard that even though they picked up this vehicle in Rancho Cucamonga, that it was allegedly stolen out of the El Monte area, you know, one of the neighboring jurisdictions here to the Montebello Monterey Park area here off of the 60 freeway. So not too far away from where that incident is said to have happened. So, you know, quite possibly for a while there when they got off the freeway, it looked really aimless, like they were lost and made a wrong turn. But the way that they've been going, and like I said, that they haven't hit any cul-de-sacs or anything like that, makes me think that they are.
Oh.
Okay, there was another spike attempt.
Yeah,
Oh,
spike
I
strip.
think they
took
might
the
have got
wheel
him.
off.
Look
Yep,
at that.
the wheel's off.
Yeah, look at that. Boy,
Wow, that was quick.
ripped that. I don't think I've ever seen a spike strip take a tire off like that completely. It just ripped it right
Especially
off
suddenly,
of the rim. That
yeah.
was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so now, as we'll see if we can get around there to the driver's side, now this person really knows that CHP means business, and they just lost a tire instantly. And the vehicle could probably still go if they wanted it to. We've seen some pursuits go on for way too long on less than 4 tires.
Yeah.
But let's see what the suspect decides to do now that they are down a tire.
So this is the second time that we're seeing this person stopped and the CHP officers behind them out of their vehicles, guns trained at this person. They're yelling out their commands right now, saying, show your hands, throw your keys out the door. Let's show your hands, you know, open the door from the outside and slowly come out with your hands up. But we'll see if they actually cooperate this time, because the last time they did not.
Yeah, the car's in a little bit
Yeah.
worse shape this time, but I did also see a canine down there as well. So CHP was, they were ready for this. This is what they were kind of, the only good thing about a long, lengthy pursuit is they've got time to get resources together, less than lethal options, your canine, all of that, and hopefully that this person will just come out and give up. I mean, again, like Desmond said, we have seen pursuits go on rims for way too long, but hopefully this person is not going to try that. And we've actually got some video we can show you here of that spike strip. You see, as Des highlights the front tire there on the left side of your screen, on the right side of your screen, that's the spike strip here that this person kind of hit, and it was really ricocheted. I've never seen a hubcap and a tire just kind of fall apart like that on initial contact with a spike strip.
Right, and suddenly, that's what I was about to say, on initial contact, but I think that as the driver was turning, the angle that it might have hit the spike strip that just sent that tire just spinning right there in the road.
And I was going to ask Des, when you use the magnifier tool, is the spike caught up in the wheel well there? Because we've seen that before too, where the spike will get stuck on the car and that will kind of do some more damage. Is that what's happening?
I can't quite tell there. We have it magnified for you. I can't tell if that's part of the fender that's sticking out of the top or not. But you can go over and see that it looks like it got the rear tire as well. That one looks to be flat. So that might have been the most perfect spike strip attempt I've ever seen to be able to just rip the rubber right off, because these spikes, the way they're designed is for slow deflation like that. And that's so incredibly unusual to see something like that. Usually we see the tire hang on for, you know, up to another 40 minutes or something before it unravels and deflates very slowly. But we have the window down again. It looks like the suspect may be wearing a pink beanie or something like that. A lot of motioning, a lot of hand gestures here.
As if though she's talking with someone, or a lot of commotion going on, moving her hands.
Or it may not be in a good state of mind here.
Yeah,
Right.
or just reacting to what officers are yelling right now.
Yeah. Once again, CHP saying that this is a woman, and also she may be armed with a ghost gun. We know this has been going on for over an hour and a half now. This chase, which started by a reported stolen car out of the El Monte area, and this is where we are now after being here in this area at least for the last 30 minutes. In that one side on that one side street, we saw that person telling the driver to stop. That person might have known this woman just because the way they were acting and gesturing for her, trying to get her to stop. And then circling back around twice to that gas station, and then finally ending here with the spike strips as we watch police with their guns drawn, just waiting on this woman to come out of the car and to surrender.
Yeah, and after that whole event with that, whoever that acquaintance was, we didn't see this person get back on the freeway. So it kind of leads us to believe that they, again, are familiar with this area. They want to stay in the area where they're familiar with and make the decision on what they're going to do, whether they're going to come to a stop, forced to a stop as they were just now by this spike strip, or, you know, run out of gas or perhaps do it on their own. But it looks like the CHP had a successful spike strip tonight, putting this part of the pursuit at least to an end, and the person not cooperating right now, not coming out of the vehicle as they're being ordered to do.
And Susie, you talking about that acquaintance there on that side street in the neighborhood. We also, Mike, we did not see police move that person away or try to get them away from the scene.
Right. Sorry, I'm just getting some more information here. But yeah, they definitely engaged with that person, which if he wasn't a part of this, they would have immediately shoot him away. But they engaged with this person. They talked to him. They asked questions. We're just getting some other information from Angelina on our assignment desk out in the newsroom that this was stolen today. This car was stolen today. And now we're being told that it was actually out of Monterey Park and not El Monte. The CHP maybe had some different information there. But Monterey Park would make much more sense because I believe we are either in Monterey Park or very, very close to Monterey Park. If we're on the north side of the 60, I believe we're in Monterey Park. But Des, it looks like we're actually just south of the 60, right?
Yes, that is correct. So we're on Garfield, or just off of Garfield. I'm just noticing that the suspect's either listening to loud music and kind of getting into the music, or they're kind of writhing back and forth and having some issues in there. But it doesn't seem like they have any interest in communicating with the authorities at this point. The window's been up and down. You can kind of see inside a little bit here, but lots of hand gesturing, and I just have to wonder if, you know, something's going on with this person, and that just makes me wonder if that's what that person on the side of the road earlier was trying to tell about CHP. So, you know, I'm sure we'll be able to put the pieces together on this fairly soon, but bottom line, this person not giving up, and CHP is not going to be too interested in coming up to the vehicle if they have reason to believe that this person is armed.
Des, really quick, I'm just curious if we can pull our attention away from the car for a second. I'm curious if that person that was at the side of the road followed this and is here at the end of the pursuit. We've, you know, maybe we've seen family members kind of do that before. I'm just curious if we see him anywhere back there at all. I know the trees are terribly placed there for us, but I was just curious to see if we see him anywhere.
I do not. Oh, who's this person right here? Just kind of driving into see, what is this person doing? It's kind of getting right up in CHP's business. They're just trying to make a turn, or
a little van.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's just someone trying to get home. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, that one person was wearing a white polo. I remember pants and a tucked-in white polo, if I recall. So I'm looking around to see that person, and I do not see that person. Let's see if by chance they're in that van. I don't know, kind of weird, or if that person was just kind of brazenly drove up into police's business and then to go down the street to go home. Not sure, but I do not see the person that we saw earlier here on scene with CHP.
Yeah, you know, oftentimes at the end of a pursuit with the CHP, when there isn't that heightened level of security with an armed situation happening, as we have in this case, you know, they're going to go wait for that ballistic shield And what they'll do is, not every unit of the CHP has a ballistic shield, but they'll wait for that to arrive. Then the officers will actually stack behind that ballistic shield and attempt to approach the car. But as you can see, this is a very delicate, and they have to be very ginger with this operation because of the fact that this is a person who is armed, and we don't know what their mental state of mind is right now, if that could be a part of the problem
shooting pepper
tonight.
balls.
But it looks like they're using their less than lethal. Yeah.
I just saw that smoke. You can see it drifting in front of the lights there, but just a couple of seconds ago, it looks like they tried to launch one through the window.
Okay.
Des, could you tell if it went in?
No, you know, I had looked away for 1 minute there. I couldn't quite tell. But yeah, this is, you know, another thing here where, you know, we were talking about how CHP's kind of treads the middle of the road when it comes to tactics and aggression with these pursuits. But they're, you know, definitely not afraid to unleash some of the pepper balls, you know, early. It's like, okay, if the spike strip didn't get your attention, is this going to get your attention? And look at this.
There we go.
Right after that, now we see the door opening, and we see some hands. So maybe the suspect finally realizes that the jig is up. Why turn this into a 4-hour situation when we can get it over with right now? It's going to end one way or another with the suspect in handcuffs. And now let's just hope that they come out and obey commands.
And you know, real quick, Des, just the level of uncomfort from those pepper balls is a lot. Those are not a thing you want to sit in. Your eyes immediately get watery. They're really hard to deal with. The first thing you're going to want to do is get fresh air, which is, this person's at least out of the car now, waving
and
to...
you see the woman is waving to the helicopters. She's looking up, waving to the helicopters now.
Smiling, laughing, like this whole thing's funny.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow. And
well, go ahead, Chauncey.
no, I was just saying, as this woman backs up, you know, seemingly into a little dance there, if you will. We were talking earlier about the dangers of these ghost guns on the streets and how police are handling suspects, because these ghost guns have become a problem all across the country. They're untraceable. You can put them together right there at home. You don't need a background check. So as we see this woman being arrested here by CHP finally after almost a 2-hour pursuit here.